Hola, hola, welcome to my vlog everyone. I'm Jaspreet Garg, life body coach, and I generally tend to sit on a Friday afternoon giving you a bit of an insight into my life, where my head is at, where my body is at, and and then I kind of just ramble for about 20 minutes, half an hour. Uh, so with that intro, first of all, I wanted to just be like, this week I managed to get myself to an Indian shop, and with this whole lockdown situation and not being able to see family members and not going to events, lots of Indian things have been missing in my life. And one of the things that I'm totally grateful for this week is getting a samosa from the shop. So it was a fresh samosa, bringing it home, heating it up, and just eating it with some imli chutney and having some tea. And then followed by the tea, I had some Indian sweets. And what I've got at the moment is a laddu. It's fallen apart, but it's still really yummy. And yeah, I just wanted to share, like, I've had that opportunity, something that I've been craving for such a long time, and somehow it's managed to happen, and I'm just so grateful for it. So with that, a little bit of laddu. I've got quite a few things I think to share today. I have some super exciting personal life news. So I think I mentioned, if you've been following me, that there is some news, and it's only until this point where things are definitely confirmed that I can now reveal that my husband and I are moving. I wonder where thoughts went for people watching this. Yes, we are moving. We're moving house. So currently we are renting a flat in London, and we have been here for the past over 3 years. But there was always the plan to move away. Then COVID happened. And then we managed to, in between those times of where we couldn't go out, and when we could, we managed to do a bit of property viewing. And I guess I just feel that we got super lucky in the situation and managed to find something that meets our current need. So yeah, it's really exciting. I am really looking forward to having our own place, somewhere where we can just put our stamp on it. And I think the other big thing for me is we have been in quite a small flat for the past 3 years, and I think it became more small when we went into lockdown last year. My husband started working from home. I started doing various courses and started taking steps to set up my coaching business. So we've had to share a really small space between us two. And I think what I want to say about that, though, is I'm really impressed at how we've managed to make this work, for starters, and that we haven't had major fallouts around it. I'm currently sitting at a desk, I think I've mentioned this before as well, that is actually my husband's, technically. But we've managed to find ways to share this space and the other areas that we sometimes work from in the flat. And yeah, it's been, part of our relationship journey as well, that we've commented a few times now how we're like really pleased that we've not had major fallouts over something like this. So I think it's it's kind of like where our relationship is at. Even though we're husband and wife, we're still learning from each other. That never stops just because you get married. And yeah, so we've managed to make it work so far, but we don't have to be in such a small space for too much longer. So that's happening actually in the next few weeks. We're going to be moving, and yeah, like with that, I want to share where my headspace is at, since it's all kind of coming to that point that we are moving. I used to get hung up over changes of routine previously. It used to kind of throw me off kilter. And since I've stopped working and been on this self-exploration journey, what I've noticed is that I had some real barriers to not having, like, for instance, a very productive day lined up. If I couldn't explain myself to someone else in terms of how I've been spending my time and make it sound not impressive, but just make it sound worthy, if that makes sense. If I couldn't do that, I started feeling like, whatever was intended, I couldn't do anymore. And I'd, doubt myself, and I'd be more concerned about how it looked to other people rather than being able to be happy within myself and comfortable within myself. So with that learning, and there was a time actually where it became quite apparent for me that learning needed to be had. Just going to bring up something on my screen. So I'm in the process of getting a blog page live on my website, and I used to write a couple of years ago. I'd created a blogging website, and I used to write now and again on there, and it wasn't like a well marketed platform. It was more like a journal for me, but a journal that maybe someone else might want to read and get something out of, kind of like these vlogs. So I've been looking at past entries that I'd written, because I'd like to use all of them for my current blog page. And I was reading through one today, just before actually turning this on. And it kind of was really timely, because I know that we're moving, and I know that my kind of rhythm of things will be shifting from where my head was at before to where I think I want it to be at the moment, or where I want the rest of me, like the whole of my body, what experience I want to create for myself through this process, which is obviously it can be a stressful process, I've heard, but I kind of want to be present for it. I don't want the move to just feel like a to-do thing. I want it to just feel more, this is just part of life, and clearing space for it is absolutely fine. Like, not feeling the pressure to have, ideas on the go with the business, or have things posted out. So I had been doing a couple of themed events earlier this year, And the plan was to have one go live this month, but with that coming up, the move coming up, I was just like, this doesn't make sense. Like, why would I want to put that pressure on myself to be delivering, to be, you know, available for others, when actually I need to be available for myself, because there's a lot going on. You know, there will be a lot emotionally, there will be a lot physically. Time will be taken up trying to get everything from A to B. So no need to put extra pressure on when my life currently, and this is how I said it to a friend that I met up with yesterday, we kind of both laughed about it, like, this is our lives, as we said, this is my life. I can afford to take space, so there's no need to feel bad about it. There's no need to feel guilty about it. There's no need to feel ashamed. In fact, feel proud that you can do this. Feel thankful that you can do this. And feel happy that you can do this. Like, bring the positive to this situation, as opposed to, surely I shouldn't be putting down the business and anything else that I had on the go just because we're moving. No, you can. That's where my thinking is at now. It didn't always used to be like this. And even during this week, there have been moments where I'm kind of like, am I allowed to be just lying in bed till 10:30 in the morning? Is that okay? Am I allowed to watch a movie from bed right now when we've got so many things to be sorting out? But this is what I genuinely wanted to do at one point during my week. I didn't end up doing the movie, but I did end up staying in bed a bit longer. In fact, most mornings this week I've been having a lie-in. And I think it's like knowing that I'm not doing, you know, anything around the business, like knowing that I've put that down and that it's okay to put it down, because this life event is now at the forefront for me, and I do want to make it at the forefront. I don't want to have to juggle lots of things at once. That's okay. It's absolutely okay to be doing that. So that's kind of, you know, the compassion and the kindness and the love that I've shown myself this week. Mostly, there's been moments of hesitation, but then I've been able to bounce back from that. But there were times when I couldn't, and I kind of want to, well, not couldn't, but used to have more of a struggle around it. So I kind of just wanted to read a little bit from my blog that I'm going to post up. So this one I wrote, which I published, probably wrote maybe earlier than this, but published on the 12th of March 2019. So, oh my God, how timely is that? Like almost 2 years ago to the date. And I called it Tuning into the Inner Self and Letting Go. And in it, I'm talking about this kind of week that came up for me that was kind of unexpected. I got a call from my dad, I think in advance of this week, to say that the plans that they'd put in place to take care of our dog, the family dog, which my parents take care of, Yogi, those plans had kind of been scuppered a little bit. So could I step in and go home and take care of him for a week? And so there's a separate blog that I do about my thoughts around that, when that was kind of, when I was invited to do that, and how I felt at the time with everything that I was carrying in terms of the perceptions I had about myself and the perceptions I had about other people. So that's like a a separate blog which will be published, but this one is me now going into that week. So I've said yes to my dad. I've said, all right, I'll help out. I wasn't working, so this is during the period that I'm kind of on my self-exploration, but didn't know that I was. And I, like, you know how I've said, like, I have let go of the pressure this week. This is when I kind of started learning what it means to let go of things in life and just go way more with the flow. So I say something that I've been learning to do more is letting go, not having too many expectations of myself and of life. If any time was a good time to put this into practice, it was during this week. Due to my need to think with my head, I did make plans of things I could do. However, I soon realised that I didn't really want to put these things into action. The only part of my life I did plan was meals. So I think I remember thinking at the time, oh, I've got lots of things that are just lying around at home that haven't been sorted out. You know, maybe I could bring those things with me here, maybe they need chucking away. But when it came to actually being physically at my parents' home, just didn't feel like doing any of that. So learning to let go, lesson 1. And then by letting go, new things came into my life. So I say, one was meditation. This was something that I wanted to do for a long time, but just couldn't bring myself to do. However, the universe always brings things into your life at the right time. Sitting in the quiet conservatory with the beautiful garden surrounding me, I closed my eyes and negotiated with my mind to let go and become quiet for as long as it felt right. Thoughts entered my mind, thoughts left my mind. I brought my attention to my breathing and to the here and now. By the end of the practice, I decided to set an intention for the day, such a powerful tool that doesn't cost anything, and then I floated into the rest of the day. So I think that was, I think I have done meditation before that point, but it was one of the first times. So, and since then I have been doing it on and off. Then I go on to talk about Yogi, the dog, and how much he had taught me in that week. And I think the amazing thing with dogs is that they're not too hung on to what's just happened. Like, they only really remember the last, I think, a minute's worth of stuff, like properly imprinted. And it's actually habits that, you know, if you do something continuously with them, that's where they build, like the connections in their brain build, okay, this is what happens when I do X. But they're not like us. They don't remember things far back. They don't hold on to things. And they're also not thinking about the future, really. Yeah, they might be like, when am I going to get dinner? But that's about it. And that's what I love. That's why I think one of the reasons, for me, it has been like a gut thing that I know I love dogs. But the more I've got to know them, the more I've realised how much there is to learn from them about how they're so in the present, how they just... And they can do the same walk, for instance, every day, but still have that same curiosity, that same eagerness to go and sniff that plant or go in that direction, you know? It's not like, oh, here we go again, you know? I just so astounded by his ways and how he would... Because I wasn't getting up particularly early back then, but because of taking care of him, I was. And it was so nice to start the day like that. So yeah, I talk about how much I appreciate him. And then I also talk about something that I did on the way home from meeting up with a friend. I'd had a few drinks. And I'm like, well, what could I do with myself when I get home? As I said, nothing was planned. So the answer that came back was, have a party. I turned on the TV, searched for the music channels, and once I came across a tune that made me want to move, I turned up the volume and just let loose. I didn't care that this party just consisted of me. I didn't care that Yogi was watching me. I just didn't care. This is what I really wanted to do. I let go and let the songs bring out the beautiful moves and expressions in my body to the outside world, I felt so alive and so good. And I think that's so like pivotal, that moment that happened for me, because it was a few months of, you know, I'm not working, I don't really know what I'm doing with my life, nothing's making sense in this place that I'm finding myself. And then, you know, I asked this question, and then the party answer came back, and then it felt so like I'd let go of something when I was dancing, and I often do feel like that when I dance. I just don't feel like there's anything to worry about in the world. It's just about enjoying yourself fully, you know, wholly, your whole body, you know, not just doing something mentally stimulating for your brain, because we do things like that all the time, you know, catch up on something that we're watching on Netflix, for instance. But there's not that many activities that I think the ordinary person builds into their day that is inviting their whole body into the conversation around what's going on in their lives and how they can feel more alive through the whole of themselves, not just their head. So yeah, there's like a little kind of snippet into where my life was at a couple of years ago, and how I'm at that point was really early on in my journey of this whole tuning into, what do I really want? What is going to make me feel really good in this moment, or just feel at peace, just feel at ease? And yeah, like that whole sense of letting go, not having to feel like I need lots of structure in place, and enjoying that freedom, enjoying that kind of, I've talked about this before, the feminine energy of flow, you know, just being a lot more present. So if the structure's in place, I'm not attached to it too much. I can let it go, because I've asked myself the question, what do I want to do? And the answer that comes back, I honoured that. So yeah. And then, as I said, this week, there's been more of this. And I'm just, you know, when I've looked back at this, I'm like, wow, what a journey I've been on, and how far I've come, and how far there is to go. But there's like almost like a world of difference between that person that I was back then and who I am now. And back then it was almost like that trip was like a haven. And then I remember thinking sometimes when I'd reflect on this opportunity that I had, is it only possible if I take myself away somewhere? And I think since this trip, it's been like, well, how can I invite more of that into my day-to-day? It doesn't have to be that, you know, I've gone away for a week to be in this position again, which hasn't happened, I don't think, since this visit. Or, you know, like trips that I've had away for an Airbnb experience. That wasn't necessarily all time on my own. That's spent with my husband as well. So how can I bring more of what happens in these spaces back into the day-to-day that I live? Yeah, I think that's a good point to conclude. I hope that my share has been of some interest and has got you thinking on, you know, being more in tune with your inner self, and maybe letting go of expectations that you hold of yourself. And if you did, what might that invite into your life? Because it does. Something will occur. It's just whether you're prepared to let go, you know, let go of the reins that you hold yourself on. And with that, have a lovely weekend, and I will catch you hopefully next week. Maybe I'll be doing a bit of letting go with these vlogs as I transition from where I'm living now to where I'm moving. Let's see. I'm just holding it very lightly. Take care. Speak soon.